Hello, Stevie Davros here. I'm going to explain to you how I make equirectangular 360 spherical images using Second Life Firestorm browser, a HUD, and a range of software in post-processing. It is a quite straightforward process, though it can be a bit daunting for a beginner. I'm sure you'll be able to follow my steps here and have some success making your own 360 images. Now, first of all, inside your Second Life viewer app, and I use Firestorm, you need to have a specialized HUD for doing 360 photography, which involves taking a series of photographs in exactly the same location to encompass the entire spherical view all around the point from which the photographs are being taken. In order to make 360 images, I utilize a Panoramic Camera system HUD from a marketplace store. Elastra is the name of the guy and the product. I use Elastra Panoramic Camera Pro HUD. You can go searching for this guy in the marketplace or just do a search for Panoramic Camera HUD. What I do is to make my own avatar invisible in the shot, and by the way I do this is I have a very simple avatar, absolutely bare bones minimized, no clothes, no attachments. On top of this, when you purchase the HUD, you get given a hide yourself invisibility cloak, which you wear as well. That makes your avatar completely invisible. And you then have the HUD being displayed. It's quite a simple HUD, and we'll go through it shortly. You can close that. Right, in order to set up your viewer, in order to capture these 360 images, several things to consider. Firstly, in mouse look, find a position in the room or in the outdoors, wherever you're going to be, that is central to where you want the shot to be taken from. Make sure there's points of interest close by and far away. You've got to make sure it isn't too dark. If it's like a really gloomy place, it'll be very difficult for the photos to be stitched together. So consider that. So I think I'll just do it in this spot here, sort of near the couch in the lower level of the library. This is the Looking Glass sim, by the way. It's a very amazing sim to visit, and it's got a very nice library room, which is ideal for the 360 shot. Okay, so here we are. We've now got to deal with the other potential problem area, which is clouds in the sky. If you've got a fast-moving sky with lots of clouds, you're potentially in for a problem because it won't be able to be easily stitched together later on, because the points of reference when looking up will be different for every single shot. So you need to freeze the position of your clouds. Okay, freezing the clouds in the Firestorm viewer is quite straightforward. You go into World, Photo Tools, Edit Sky Preset, Clouds, Scroll Lock X and Y, and minimize them. Done. The clouds are now frozen for the duration of this process, and you won't have a problem in stitching the sky portion of the image if you're outdoors. It's as simple as that. Right, the next thing to consider is saving your snapshots to disk. There'll be a total of 26 images saved. You just need to do as you do normally for snapshots. In my case, I have chosen to do higher resolution image captures and saving them as PNG files. I'll just show you where they are on the Snapshots folder. This HUD, when you use it, takes 26 photographs, which is basically 3 rows of images, one perfectly horizontal, one looking upwards, one looking downwards, and the final two images straight up and straight down. It'll be self-evident once we get going on taking the shots. Each one is a portion of the overall image, and they all get stitched together to create a final file which will look something like this when it's all stitched together. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these previous images. They're no longer needed for this job. You might have to do that if you haven't had any images in there before. Okay, we're ready to go, and the first thing we need to do is, before we start, is just doubly make sure we're in exactly the right place to start the image. And yeah, that seems like a good enough spot. So out of mouse look, and we're ready to create the 360 panorama by taking 26 separate little photographs. All of the shots we're going to create here will be taken from precisely the same position in the XYZ world of Second Life. The starting point is the head of your avatar, wherever it was when you clicked start the HUD. But what you can do is adjust the offset to that by, here we go, launching the offset adjustment little pop-up window. This allows you to adjust X, Y, and Z parameters, moving up and down in X, Y, and Z planes to position precisely where you want to be. You can also use these arrow keys to see where you are in the room. Looking straight down, for example, you can precisely position yourself if there's something you want to be directly above. Okay, so to change your position, let's say we wanted to adjust our height and go a little bit higher or a little bit lower. So we'll just see where that looks. That's fine. So you get your position honed, and it's just a bit of trial and error till you work out what's best for you and wherever you are. You close it when you're happy, and we're now ready to start capturing the 26 separate images that will make up the panorama. Now each image, as you can see, is a defined, narrower field of view than you would perhaps normally have. And collectively these will be stitched together and create the panorama. So first of all, we're at the starting position, which is facing north and looking directly ahead, directly out, level with the horizon. To capture the image, you use the standard keyboard snapshot control tilde button. So the first image has been captured, and now I'll take the second image by clicking the right arrow button to move to the secondary position and hitting Control tilde again. Third position now, Control tilde again. Fourth position, Control tilde again. Okay, once you've finished taking the first row of photographs, you click again and it points upwards. The next row will be taken looking slightly upwards. So we'll get the first one of those done. This is a fairly straightforward process. You've just got to be mindful that you pay attention to what you're doing and you don't accidentally miss taking any of the photographs. We've now finished the second row, the upward facing row, and we click the arrow and we now point downwards and get the downward facing row. And you can see the HUD shows you that we're doing the downward row and that we're still facing north. So you get a good idea of where you are in the scheme of things. This is now the last image in the downward facing row of images. If I click the right arrow again, it'll take me back to the original starting position. The last two images we need to capture is looking straight down using the down arrow button, and straight up using the upwards arrow button. Okay, we've now finished capturing the images. If we look at the Snapshots window, you'll see a total there of 26 images have been captured, and we're now ready to go into the stitching software to stitch the images together. Now, before I go to that, you saw how long that process took. If you're in a sim somewhere and there's lots of movement, flexi-prims, people running around, the results will be hopeless. You'll just have a real mess because everything will have moved between the shots. This sort of image only works in a place where everything is static. If there are avatars that you wish to be in the scene, they've all got to be posed and static for the duration to achieve a good result. So we'll just look at these images briefly. So that's all good. So we've captured the images. We've confirmed that they all work. So we're finished with the Second Life viewer for the time being, and we can quit the app. Okay, we're now going to take 26 images captured within Second Life using Firestorm Viewer and the HUD and put them into a stitching program. I'm using one called AutoPano Giga. There are a bunch of different software options available to you. You select the 26 images, Okay, we have the 26 images loaded. We now click the Detect button. This is a very simple process using this software. It'll now just align all the images and manage control points that match up and produce a combined image. There it is. The next thing you do is basically stitch it to a final resultant image. Now, it's going to be too large because I'm using a large 5K monitor and I've saved all the images as double resolution, high resolution JPEGs or PNGs. I want to shrink it down to 12,000 by 6,000 pixels. I tend to use bicubic smoother, which gives a nicer looking result. Anti-ghosting will make sure that where it's stitched the images together, there's no fuzziness at any joint point. It's just a setting within the application. I tend to save as PNG and with a medium level of compression to give a high quality image. And I want to save it into the Snapshots folder. So I'm going to click the render button. This will take a few minutes to process, 2 or 3 minutes depending on the power and speed of your computer. There's a progress bar here and it gives you an indication of what stage of processing it's up to. Normally when you're at this phase you'd go off and have a cup of coffee or do something different if you want to not sit here and watch it because it's not doing much. It's very intensive on the processor, so it's best to have no other background applications running and most specifically to not have a Second Life viewer running because that is quite labour intensive. So I tend to run this with very little else active in the background. If you remember earlier when I was doing the 26 images and setting everything up and then coming into this process, it gives you an idea of the time flow for all of this. This is pretty much real time I'm showing you it all in. So the total duration of this video is pretty much how long it will take you to create one of these 360 panoramas. It's writing the file now, so it's almost finished. And you know it's completed because this will turn into a little green tick symbol to say it's completed the process. Okay, it's completed. So the app's no longer needed, we can quit it. You don't want to save the work files because we're not going to go back and want to do this again. So this is these 26 images combined into an overall 360 showing the interior of that library in Second Life. This is basically a spherical bubble image 360 degrees around, 180 degrees from bottom to straight up, viewed from inside, and imagine it flattened out and laid flat into a rectangle. This is how it appears on the screen. This is treated as a normal graphics file by the internet, and only certain websites such as Facebook are able to stitch it around to being spherical. Okay, so what I've done with this image, which came out of the stitching program, I've taken it into Adobe Photoshop and done some minor tweaking to improve its appearance. And I'll just run through those steps for you now. So if we open it up again in Photoshop, all I did was image, adjustments, saturation. I cranked the saturation slightly to maybe 20% higher. I then went through and adjusted the brightness slightly to make it a bit brighter, It's a bit dark up around the ceiling. And the last thing I did was I adjusted the color balance slightly to just enhance the yellows and the reds, which is what the theme of the room was. It's red carpets and gold and yellowy lights and that, just to make it look a bit nicer. And then I saved it out as a JPEG file. Okay. And that file there is now ready to have metadata added to it because it came out of the stitching program and then out of Photoshop with no metadata to tell the internet that it's a 360-degree equirectangular. Okay, so we've edited the image in Adobe Photoshop, and the last step in the process is to add in some specific metadata inside the JPEG file that can be used by programs and websites to let it know that it's an equirectangular image. Because we've taken a bunch of screen captures and stitched them together and then edited in Photoshop, there is no metadata to indicate to whatever is looking at the image that it isn't just a straightforward standard flat image. So to add this metadata, there is a free application you can download from the internet called Exif Fix-Up. It's available for Windows and Mac. It's very simple. You just take the image, drag and drop it onto the image, and it will add this metadata, right? So it's saying there's no cropping. It's saying the dimensions are 12,000 by 6,000 in this case. It's saying Panorama Viewer is true and the projection type is equirectangular. You don't need fake camera data for Facebook. Only what Facebook looks for is basically this metadata right here. That's all it wants to know. And once it sees that, it'll recognize it as a 360 image. You just click Add Metadata, and the metadata is added. You can then quit the app because you don't need it anymore. And the original image that we edited has been renamed _original, and the version that has the metadata embedded is now called Looking Glass Library 2-JPEG in my case. It's an identical image, but it's now got that little tiny bit of metadata in the file structure of this image file. So the version of the image without the metadata is no longer needed. We can just delete that. So we've now got an image, and the last thing I'll show you, if you wish to upload it to Facebook, there's a few little tricks to get it to look good on Facebook. First thing is you just add it as a standard photo or video, which you're all used to doing. We'll pick the image. There it is. Choose it. It's now uploading it. It's a big file, 12 megabytes, so it'll take a few seconds to get there. You have to add some text to explain what it is. I like to add the URL as well, the SL URL. So inside the library in the Looking Glass Sim in Second Life, SL URL, and that's the text I want to include. Now, edit settings. If you edit the settings, you see that there, this little icon that appears on the right hand side, it lets you drag the starting view that everybody sees on Facebook to where you want it, anywhere you like it in the image. So you pick where you want. I'll pick, I don't know, there, so like that. You can also choose to zoom it in or zoom it out using the scroll wheel on your mouse. And then you click Save once you're happy. So the 360 image is now uploaded into Facebook and is ready for people to view it. Because it's a large file that we uploaded, it's 12 megabytes, so it's quite high resolution. If we look at the attributes of that image, it is 12,000 by 6,000 pixels, which is much larger than the average image on Facebook. If you click on it, you can make it larger if it'll fill the size of the browser window you have open, and it gives you a good opportunity to look in more detail. Now, the way Facebook works, it only loads the portion of the image you're looking at, so it takes a bit of a while to fill in the missing bits, a bit like resing in a new sim area you're going to in Second Life, really. But because this is such a high resolution file, you can zoom in quite a way and still see the details there, or you can zoom out using the scroll wheel. So it's a nice way to show off an area of a sim immersively to people that don't use Second Life, family or friends or whatever. I really enjoy taking the 360s, and I hope this has shown you the way it can be done. It's not too cumbersome. It does take time. As you get better at it, you will find the process is much faster. From walking around in the sim saying, oh, this is a good spot for a 360, to launching the HUD to take the pictures, taking all the 26 separate captures, stitching them together and making it look the way you want it in Photoshop or another image editor, and then uploading it to Facebook. The whole process is quite quick, and you can certainly do the whole thing from deciding to take the image to having it on Facebook within 15 minutes. It's not instant, it's not as simple as taking a single snapshot. Everyone might say, oh, it's too much trouble, I won't bother. But it's like a lot of things, once you get into the hang of doing it, it's quite a quick process, and the result is really nice to see. It's also a way to put on a VR headset and look around inside Second Life, because it's very difficult to do that otherwise, the way things are. So there we have it. The process involved in creating a 360-degree equirectangular image using a HUD in Second Life Firestorm viewer and uploading it to Facebook. There are numerous ways you can do it. I know Second Life, Linden Labs have got their own special viewer for taking 360 captures they're tinkering with. Unfortunately, the resolution is a lot lower, but the benefit of that is it's a single click to get the image, and it's done, I think, server-side. There's no reason why they couldn't do that. I mean, when you take the snapshot, it generates it server-side and feeds the graphic file to you to save on your computer. There's no reason why the full 26 images could not be taken in a few seconds within the server. It'd be much, much easier for everybody. And it should be able to be done at this high resolution. There's no reason why not. Even if they charged you, I don't know, a few Linden dollars each time you did it, it wouldn't matter too much from my point of view. It'd be a lot easier, and then you'd be able to capture in real time motion and movement. Imagine a dance floor full of people, where everything's moving with all kinds of different effects. But the way it is at the moment, it's got to be done in a place like this where nothing is moving, everything is static. The clouds are frozen. There aren't lots of trees flipping around in the breeze, or people moving around, or particles going crazy, or plexiprims, or whatever. So the facility scene is the best results you'll achieve, better results you'll achieve. Hope that was of use to you all. There are, as I said, there's a couple of HUDs available in Second Life. If we quit out of that, in the Second Life 360 group on Facebook, in the group description, there's a lot of information about where to go. It tells you where to get the Autopano Giga from, Huggin, which is another free one you can get, and the Exif Fix-Up, links to those are there. And also listed are the two various HUD systems that are available in Second Life Marketplace. These links will take you there to those. If you don't use Facebook and you see this on YouTube, then you can just find them in the Second Life Marketplace doing a web search on Panoramic Camera, 360 camera, but they both have in their link camera, Panorama Camera. So I think they're the only two. There might be others, but I'm not aware of those. You can also do it manually without using a HUD, but it's a lot more complicated. I highly recommend buying one of these HUDs. They're quite inexpensive, you know, price of a cup of coffee or so, so they're quite inexpensive. And you'll achieve really good results. As well as making these, you can also crop in elements of a 360 to get an image like that, whereas your normal screen might be that much, your normal screen might be that much at once. So you can achieve a really nice sort of still image as well. So there's various things you can do with 360s, and I hope you appreciate this video, and let me know comments on Facebook if you see it and what you think, and if there's any queries, ask questions and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks a lot. Bye.